Few things are for sure in this life, but this is. If we live for any substantial amount of time, we will encounter grief due to the loss of a loved one. Not something any of us ever want, and we all handle it differently. This podcast is to feature those who have done purposeful and meaningful things through their grief. These people featured on here are normal folks, just like you and me, who were thrust into a place they never wanted to be in their lives. A painful place. As they move through their pain, they realize that something worthwhile, something for the greater good could come out of the unthinkable. I'm sure that none of them would ever consider themselves to be a hero, but when I searched the definition of the word hero, I found this: a person who is admired or idolized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. And that fit. And so it's my privilege to bring you the remarkable stories of these heroes in grief. Hi, everyone. This is Tom, your host for the Heroes in Grief podcast, and the response has been incredible so far, and I want to thank you for that. It's getting out to people, and they're letting us know that it's helping them, and that is what it's all about. I want to make you aware of a way that you can support this podcast without having to spend 1 cent, and that is through affiliate marketing. I've set up affiliate marketing for online shopping. If you do online shopping, then I have links to all the major retailers, most of them anyways, and I can provide them for you so that when you buy online through those links, you'll help support the podcast through the percentages that we get. It doesn't cost you anything more. You just shop like you regularly would on the sites that you love. It's very easy. All you have to do is shop. And that's it. Just let me know the links to the places that you want to shop at, and I will provide the affiliate links so that you can do it. If you want more information on this, you can go to heroesingrief.com. It takes you to the Linktree page where a video explains it in a little more detail. But you can always email me at tom@heroesingrief.com, and I can answer questions for you. But you can support the podcast that way, and it's very easy, very simple, and it doesn't cost you a cent. Isn't that great? Thank you. Now here's today's episode. All right, everybody, welcome to Heroes in Grief. Thank you for joining me today. And today I have Sheila K. Collins on, and she is an artist, correct?
Yeah.
And she
actually a dancer.
Incorporates.
Originally a dancer.
A what?
A dancer.
A dancer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you do the Art of Grieving, and so you incorporate the dance into art as well for the grieving expression. And so I'd like to learn all about that. That's very interesting, and would like to know more about you, Sheila, and then what you're doing. And so why don't you share with everyone here on Heroes in Grief about yourself?
Well, I want to say it's kind of formidable to sign up for something that's about heroes. I mean, that word is really, I'll just tell you how I process that. I think that my experience was an unfortunate situation in that I've lost 2 adult children to horrific diseases when they were young. I mean, they weren't babies, but so I think when I think about the notion of heroes, I think about how they lived with their diagnosis and the struggle and keep going. So anyway, so my son was diagnosed with AIDS at a time when AIDS was a death sentence. So what he did, and it was pretty heroic, he would just say, well, okay, I know they're going to find a cure for this. So my job is to take care of myself. So I'm going to be here for the cure. And it kept him going. The lesson for me still, when I have difficulties in my own life, I kind of think back to that. He was a fairly young man at that time. And so he was in his 20s when he was diagnosed. And so to see him live through, as best you can, we do the best we can. Then my daughter was diagnosed with breast cancer 5 years later, and she went through incredible challenges to stay alive to raise her children. I mean, she had 3 young children. So again, even now, and that was many, years ago, I think of them in terms of how they dealt, as I might be whining and complaining about something that's not working out for me these days. So
Yeah, I'll tell you about the heroes thing. I struggled with that myself, actually, when the thought came of the podcast and that name was brought to me. And so I struggled with that, and I looked up the definition, and I found this, and I say it in the intro to the podcast. In one of the portions of the definition in Webster's for heroes is a person admired for achievements and noble qualities. And so that fit what I was looking at in Heroes of Grief, that they have done remarkable things with their grief. And so that was the focus of it there. But I love how you put that in for your children. That's tremendous. And that could have a nice dual meaning for it, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what transpired after those horrible losses? And I'm so sorry that you went through that. And
Well,
what happened? Where were you at, and what happened with you in the midst of all of that?
well, of course, that took precedence over what I was doing, which was I was a therapist, and I had a behavioral health care clinic at one point, and so it was like dancing with all of that, to be available to them, and then to my grandchildren, during the time that their mom was being treated. So it is trying to, again, live with what life's handing you. I mean, that's, you didn't pick this off a menu at all. There was no doubt about it, and that's I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Anyway, yeah. Here's what happened, Tom. During the process of these things, there were some gifts in the middle of this, icky stuff. And there were things that nobody ever told me. And I was a professional, and I never knew of these things. I didn't know about these gifts that are in this awful package. And so I decided I wanted to write about it and see if I could process it. And because grief is really processing your life, processing your losses, and writing is one way to do it. So I started, that was a project for me to, and I didn't know if I was going to go all the way to publishing something, but, I wrote and challenged myself to be able to really tell the stories in a important way, not just, I don't know, maybe I go too far sometimes with my project, but anyway, so I did that. And that was the book, Warrior Mother, Fierce Love, Unbearable Loss, and the Rituals That Heal. I really looked at what was it that helped our family to heal. And it turns out that it was very much the arts. And so that was a kind of surprise. I hadn't thought of that exactly. And then when I saw people's reaction to what I was doing, then I realized how afraid everybody is of grief and how we don't want to talk about it. And we want to, I think Americans have a sort of a stay up, sort of don't bring anybody down, sort of, I don't want to bring you down, Tom. You're having a good day. I don't want to give you anything that might make you feel not so good, And but in that case, we sacrifice our intimacy, our truth, really, because sometimes it's not great. I'm not feeling great, or, something is a challenge. And, but then, if you have stories and the character never has any problems, then it's kind of boring. I mean, I don't think anybody writes a book about that. So, yeah.
So, you were a therapist. Did you have grief training at all in your background?
Well, I did. And of course, it's and I realized that some of what I had been told was wrong. And that was really, I mean, no. So I'll give you the specifics. So you've probably heard of Freud, and everything was based on Freud and Freud's notion of grief. And by the way, he lost a daughter in a pandemic. so a young daughter. And so his idea was, you get on, you get over it. You just quickly, and he actually did a lot of work. He was working a lot. That helped him. And it does. I mean, to invest in something helps you to keep your balance, but, and the research now is the people who do the best with grief are the people who stay connected to the people that they love, or that whatever it is that they've loved, and also who they were at that time, because that's what you lose, is who I was then and who I am now. If I don't want to hear about any of that, we're not going to mention that person's name. We're going to, some people, no pictures in their home. I mean, that sort of thing. So that isn't a good way to do the grief thing, the grief journey.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, because I had heard from several people, including a Columbia professor who trains therapists and things, or teaches them, and said that grief is an elective for them, not even a required course.
Yes.
So we encounter that a lot. Are you in the U.S. or are you in the U.K. now?
No, I'm in the U.S. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, actually now.
Okay. Yeah. You did something in the U.K. though, right? Did you do
Well, I've done things. I have done some things in the U.K. You're right. But just in fact, when Warrior Mother came out, we made there's a book festival that is part of the Fringe Festival. I don't know if you know what the Fringe Festival is, but it's in Edinburgh, and everything in Edinburgh turns into a theater venue, whether it's the cleaners or the restaurant or the hallway, or everything. So I do improvisational theater, and I went there to the Fringe Festival. We did an event in a church, and I did some things with my book. I would just read something. Authors often read a little section from their book, and then people ask them, how was that or whatever. What I did is I would read a section from the book, and then I would have my improv people just do improv it as to how it affects them, what they are taking from it. And so if I was talking about my teenage son, maybe one of them has a teenage son. It's amazing. In some ways, we all have the same story. We all have family. We all have, relatives that are aggravating. Whatever it is, we all have it, and so that was I started performing the book, and I started performing it around the country, and the people that came, they loved it. That was because it gave them the opportunity then to ignite their own stories, and like they didn't want to go home, they would just wanted to stay. We have to say, well, we're out of here, So then I began to see. But they were afraid to mention it to other people because maybe it's not the right time for them, or might not be right. So that's where my current book came from. So sometimes one book leads you to another one. So that's where the Art of Grieving came from.
Oh, hello, friends. I just wanted to take a brief break here in the podcast to make you aware of a very exciting partnership that Heroes in Grief has just formed, and that is with Get Griefy magazine. I'm going to let their founder and editor-in-chief, Kara Sanchez, tell you all about it.
Hey, Heroes in Grief listeners. Life after loss isn't easy, but it can be colorful and full of possibilities. Meet Get Griefy magazine, a vibrant resource filled with inspiring stories of life after loss, expert advice, and voices from everyday grievers and thought leaders. Together, they're here to help guide you toward the side of life that's left to be lived fully and authentically. Dive into Get Griefy for free on issue, or snag a print copy on Amazon. Connect with us on Instagram at Get Griefy Magazine, or visit getgriefymagazine.com to explore, join our thriving small business collective, or discover advertising opportunities. Let's embrace life after loss, boldly and together.
And now back to our episode. Okay, the reason I was asking is because in the US, that's what I'm hearing from a lot of people, that their therapists may not have that background in grief.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
it's okay to look for another to find someone, find your person somehow,
Yes.
and someone you can connect with. So, but I love that with your improv, it must bring out so many different aspects that you would not think of. It's really fleshing it out in a broad stroke and allowing other people to bring healing aspects to you too, right?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, there's a art gallery here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and they do shows on big topics. So they did one on enough violence, artists speak out, and all the art pieces were related to violence, something, and so my group, we did what we would do is we would go to the piece and we would respond to what it did for us, and with singing, dancing, storytelling, whatever, the arts, the visual or the expressive arts. And so it just so happened when my book, the Art of Grieving, was just coming out, they were doing a show on grief, and all the pieces in their art gallery were related to grief. So, it was so
Wow.
special to be able to
Hmm.
connect my book and my thoughts about the stories in my book, and then the pieces that they did. Um,
Hmm.
and
Did you continue your work as a therapist, or did you just start taking this then and going with this?
well, I think what's happened is my work now is more using the arts. So, you know,
Yeah.
so if I'm coaching somebody at the time that they're dealing with grief, it's likely that we will use different tools from the arts to help that person process, because it's amazing how the arts really do help us to process. If you think about even a good funeral, I mean, a well planned funeral, I guess I would say,
Hmm.
there's music, right? And it's not horrible music, it's inspiring music. And there's storytelling. People, a eulogy is a story of the person. And so you begin to see that we've done it, but we haven't done it so purposefully or consciously. That these are tools or medicine. The music can be
Hmm.
so much a part of the medicine. It also connects us to our memories. So there's another book that came out, and I laugh about the fact that I promote other people's books on my interviews. But there was a book that came out just when mine was coming out, and it was scientists from the Johns Hopkins University Medical Center, and they had done all this research on what the arts do to our brains. It's called Your Brain on Art. And it was like,
Wow.
oh my gosh, this was like a gift to me, Tom. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I know. This is what I've been doing with clients and with myself. And now these people can tell you what part of the brain. If I doodle, I'm doodling, they can see what part of the brain is lighting up. So it's really,
What a confirmation and validation for what you were doing, right? That's
absolutely,
amazing.
absolutely.
And so, yeah, and that really brings together the the helping, the healing aspects of grief because of what happens to you in your body with grief. And when you start engaging the senses with the type of things that you're talking about, it helps so much to bring you back to that foundation of what you are and who you are and everything, because the grief brain is all messed up and really needs
Well,
that foundation.
it's messed up, but it has what do I want to say? It seems messed up, But what happens actually is that memory, it's associative, and so the cover of my book is a spiral, because the way I say it is, grief is not a stair steps we climb. We think of it
Mhm.
like, okay, I have this now. Okay, I'm in this now. And you get to the top step and then you dust your hands off and you say you're done. Well, that's not the way the brain works. It doesn't work that way. So you can feel bad about yourself for doing it wrong, uh, because what happens is it's a spiral. The energy is a spiral. And so by that, I mean, it comes around through the seasons. So if you lost your father, his birthday is going to come around. And in the States, we have a day called Father's Day. And that's going to, so you can say you've climbed the stairs, but maybe you haven't, because something's going to remind you of your dad, or, you know, but that's a gift, because then you're in a little different relationship to the experience of losing him. And so now you have a different, you're a little different, and you're bringing something. Maybe you're noticing some things about him and appreciating some things about him that you didn't when it first occurred.
Mm-hmm. You just reminded me of a great illustration I saw one time about grief, and it was the playing board of chutes and ladders. You know, where you go up and you're going a little bit, and then you might hit a chute and you come down, and as you still keep progressing up. But
yes,
yeah,
there is a direction,
was a great
but
illustration.
the direction is circular, and it turns out that the way that energy moves, and dancers know this, you know, that the worst thing in the world, Tom, is to be stuck. That is the worst feeling, whatever. And so the notion of continuing the movement and continuing to grapple again with the challenges as we become and as we become more mature, really.
Yeah. What kind of things kind of surprised you that may have come out of the expression and the dancing and that type of thing? Do you do it yourself as well?
Oh, absolutely, all the time. So yeah, one of the things, because it was so much a part of me that, you know, you just take it for granted. It's like people who work out or run. I mean, they don't understand people who don't run. I mean, what, you don't run? You know? I mean, so,
Yeah.
but what I began to really appreciate so much is that there is this opportunity to be lifted, you know, as we're struggling along with whatever's happening, you know, where there's an opportunity to be lifted up and to be in a more expansive place. And so that's what dance does for me, but music too. Music does that also. You know, people use music, let's say, to work out, but they don't use, like, you know, a heavy, you know, very slow kind of energy. It's let's get some uplift going here, you know, and to keep you going. And so I can see the notion now of having a playlist of things that you can purposefully enter the experience of grief, and you can purposely let go of it. And so it's there. It's there. And so and so it becomes what I discovered, what I call sweet sorrow. So when I think of my son and my daughter, I like to tell you about them because I'm proud of them, and they still matter to me, and they've been a part of my life. So it doesn't make me. I might even get tears, or my voice might even shake, but it's okay, because it just means that it's really matters. It really matters.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm an entertainer. I'm a vocalist and entertainer.
Oh my goodness. I didn't
perform.
Know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm identifying with the artist aspect, and entertainment aspect. And today, as a matter of fact, I did a show. I perform at nursing homes, care centers, and things. That's what I do almost daily at places. Very well received in this area, which is quite a privilege. And so today I went back to a place that I hadn't performed at. I just started again in March, and it's been 2 years since I had performed. I just put everything on the shelf. And today, you know, I did a show for this place, and the woman there came up to me and she goes, "This is your calling." And that's what struck me, what you were talking about. Now, I know I've been entertaining for years. I know, you know, it's well received and this type of thing. And I love doing it in the nursing homes, and that role played there and for those folks and everything. It feeds me incredibly. But when she said that is kind of what I thought about, is the whole package of where I'm at right now And, I've been in ministry in the past and everything too. And they talk about a calling there and all of that. But what it meant to me at that time when she said that, because I just looked at her like, it's not something that I hear all the time now. And so when I heard that, I thought calling. And I thought, of course, yes, for those people that I do it for on a regular basis and how much it means to them and everything. And then I thought that as we develop into these new people that we are through this grief thing, that I have a calling that is part of this whole package, the podcast, everything else that is there for the people. And that's what I thought about. That I didn't think about myself in that at all. I was thinking for everyone out there and everything that I am now and what that is. And so it was kind of really expansive compared to what it used to be, especially back in the ministry days when I used to, you're calling the ministry, and that was, that. But this was so much different. It was very open-ended, and I just was like, I felt very satisfied in it. It was remarkable.
Absolutely. This is what I meant when I said there was these gifts, that nobody tells you about when you're doing these things. So the kind of, like one of the things, the amount of time I had with my daughter, I mean, she was 40. So if she had been healthy, I don't know. I mean, we would have had phone conversations and a few, during that time. But we spent hours and hours together, and doing all kinds of interesting things. And I got to know her in a way, and she got to know me in a way that we never would have if we hadn't been in that circumstance. And that. And then when you see, I think the gift of grieving is, well, first of all, the grief of loss, and is to recognize that everything, you're going to lose everything. I mean, this is the way the game is. And so that sounds awful, but on the other hand, it makes this very precious. What we have is so precious. And then we know too what really matters. So when you know that it really matters how people are doing as they age, and you're serving the people that are dealing with that challenges of aging, that's helping you too. I mean, it's just, you can't give without receiving.
Right. That is another thing that happens. I go now back to many places that I did perform, and a lot of people remember me there. And I'm glad that I was made aware of this. I consider the universe guiding me in everything I'm doing. And so I wanted to address something off the bat to some of them, because I hadn't been around for 2 years, and I don't know who knows what.
Right.
And I don't know if you know, but my 27-year-old son passed 2 years ago from fentanyl poisoning. And so what I do is I come out and I say, I haven't performed for 2 years, and it's good to be back. I said I had one of the most horrible things that can happen in life happen. I don't say what it is because it could activate someone there who maybe lost a child. So I don't say that or talk about it at all, really. I just say that. And then I say, I did learn something during that time. And what I learned was that we're not promised anything, but we have right now. And I said, let's make the best of this time right now.
Absolutely.
And that's almost exactly what you were saying. I love that when those synchronicities happen. Yeah, treasured time.
Treasured time.
I can identify with that too. The time you had with your daughter, very treasured time. And I look at it with my son too. We were estranged for 5 years, and then he came to us and asked if he could come live with us to get away from some of the things that was going on in his life. And so I had 2.5 years of that treasured time here too. And not long enough in human perspective, but I can look back on it now and say the course of things brought us to that, and I was allotted that time, and that's fantastic. So yeah,
absolutely.
Great perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing
relates
about
go ahead.
Well, often when you've been through something, you want to do something so that other people maybe wouldn't have it so bad. I mean, in the United States, there was a woman whose daughter was killed by a drunk driver. And, and so she just got a mission. She didn't want that to happen to anybody else. And it took her like 20 some years. She founded a big organization. They had to do all kinds of things to change the laws and, fix things so that people can't just run around with bad voting, with bad driving records and get away with it, because that was going on for years, And anyway, but so that was her gift in the name of her daughter, that other moms and dads wouldn't have to be. So that would be one of the examples. But you see that all the time in terms of wanting to do something to make the world better on behalf of what your family has been through.
Mm-hmm. That's what this is all about. This podcast is getting that out there. All these different things that folks are doing. First of all, to tell the stories so that people can identify and see that people have come out of horrific situations and done remarkable things. And it becomes a humanitarian thing in you to have that desire to help others and do that. It just is, it's a a no-brainer for me, and you just become something you have to do. And, it helps you so much in the process. So Sheila, what, you've done the 2 books so far?
Actually, I have, this was my current one is my 4th book. So I think I'm done with the books. I'm not sure, but it takes a long time. I tell people maybe we should write booklets, little like 25 pages or something. So at this point, I'm just trying to get things in people's hands, because the book is stories of people, and we learn from everybody's story, really. And so it's looking at grief in a different way so that people can begin to learn from their own experiences. So I teach online and I coach people using the tools of, it's a system called Interplay that I use, which is based in story, but it's based in the body. And so the name of the organization that is in charge of it is called Body Wisdom. There's a part of us that's smarter than we are, and it's often not our conscious mind. So that's part of the reason the arts work so well, is because they take us often out of our conscious mind and into our vibrational mind, into our movement mind, into our imaging mind, that's smarter than we are.
Yeah, that's really the essence of what we are. So it makes a lot of sense. You have a website?
I do. And it's my name, Sheila K. Collins.com. SHEILA K Collins.com. I do. Yes.
All right. We'll make sure that's in the show notes and everything. Yeah. We'll make sure we have all your information in there, of course.
Yes. And I'm also teaching, or I'm also writing now on Substack. And that's a newish platform where a lot of good writers are. So I'm trying to keep up, but people told me I should move to that platform, so I have. And it's good because there's other people you can be in conversation with, sort of like you and I being able to talk today. You get these opportunities.
Oh, good. That's great. Do you work with people? Oh, you did say that you work with people one-on-one too.
I do.
Still?
Although, of course, I love working with people in groups because there's a lot of wisdom in the group. So you don't just get me, you get some other people who also, and we kind of ignite each other, I think. It's like music. It's beautiful to play one instrument, but if you get a few more instruments going, you get much fuller experience. So, So one of my goals right now is I want to do a retreat at a center where they have places that people can do the arts, and we can do an Art of Grieving retreat to get away from our regular lives and to talk about some of these things, but also to have the experience of making something one of the stories in the book that is my favorite, I guess it's everybody's favorite, is my granddaughter, who at the time was 9, and she was in California and I was on the East Coast, and we were just online every day, every week. And so she taught me how to make a bracelet. And she told me she was making this bracelet for her friend because her friend's hamster had died. And so she made this bracelet that had the letters hamster on the bracelet. And then she wrote a little note to her friend, and she said, I can think of you. I can be with you anytime you think of me. Signed, the hamster. So she made me really recognize that we're giving people, love is the gift we're giving. And there can be an object that we make called an art piece, called a bracelet, that can help that person be aware that we love them. So, and she was 9. So we have to learn from the young too.
Yeah. It must be so satisfying to see people see that just come out of them all of a sudden when you do your retreats or whatever. You know, someone, now, do audience people, they express that way too, right? So you see these remarkable things happen probably, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And like you were saying, the performing is about, it's a gift. You know, it's not about me. It's about, you know, the gift. And yes, people get, when they're around that kind of energy, it's amazing that it gives other people permission to be their fuller selves.
Yeah, I'm picturing a scene of that happening. It must be remarkable. So satisfying. Yeah. Amazing. Good work, Sheila.
Well,
excellent work.
Thank you.
How long has this been going on? How long have you been doing this?
The Art of Grieving came out a year ago. I guess that probably when my son was diagnosed with AIDS was what really, pulled me up, at that time. It was such and I found interplay at that same time, which I think you mentioned the universe arranges some of this for sure. And so to be able to tell the stories, to be able to have people tell their stories, which turned out to be your story too, you can identify with that, and not realizing that was a big part of my processing. So then I could teach other people how to do that.
What does the future hold?
Well, maybe as I mentioned, I am working on online, but also there's a very up and coming is there's an International Expressive Arts Therapy Association that is holding a conference in Boston next month, and I'm going to be we're going to be teaching people how to create using with their stories, and then present. We'll be opening the conference with that, and I'll be doing something on the Art of Grieving too, but connecting with people who use the arts very specifically as a therapy.
Tremendous. I love the engagement aspect of all of that. I think it's so important for people to move forward. And that's you got my mind going crazy here. you know the creative mind when it starts going, right?
This reminds you of this, and this reminds you of this, and yes.
Yeah, I'm picturing everything you do, and I'm like, wow, I can just picture so much. Yeah, it's good because it helps us to expand in the process of whatever we're doing too.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Sheila, thank you.
Well,
is there anything that we didn't cover that maybe you want to talk about?
No, I think you've been very great at listening and at bringing in the connections to your work and to what you're doing.
I just love how it interplays, like you said, there's no coincidences. So, you get connected on these things. And I love to say it all the time, but the purpose of this is to get the different aspects of helping people out there, because I think there's something for everybody. So someone can identify with this, that maybe they thought they didn't have that outlet or that ability to engage with something that can help them along their path. So that's the whole purpose of all of this. And I love the different aspects that come out each podcast. I'm recording a bunch of them right now so that I don't have to do it through the summer, and I'll have them all set and ready.
Okay.
But
Sure.
so I'm talking to so many people every day now, and it's like, wow, all these different things. It's amazing me even when I'm here preaching it,
Right.
but it's just a validation again that there's so much available out there for people, and we're trying to just get the information out. That's all.
Exactly. Yes. Wonderful.
Yeah. So great, Sheila. Thank you for coming on and sharing everything. And of course, great success in everything you do. And, we'll direct everyone to your site and everything so they can see what you're doing, and maybe catch up with you somewhere.
That'd be great. And we like to put things on our social media. So, everybody's getting it out there. So when this is posted, I'd like to know when that is so I can
absolutely
pass it on.
Yep. Definitely let you know. Thank you.
All right. Well,
awesome. Thank you, Sheila. Thanks for taking the time.
Great. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you for listening to the Heroes in Grief podcast. If you'd like access to any of the links that we discussed in today's show, you can find them in the show notes. There's also a link there to support the podcast if you care to. And there is an email link for me there. I'd love to hear from you and your ideas about the show or what you thought about the show. You really can help out this podcast to get to more people if you subscribe, rate, or review it in whichever way your platform provides. Each week, Heroes in Grief is released on Sunday, so look for new episodes there. Thank you again for listening to Heroes in Grief.